Alright, so cliff south spawn. Let's see. Top tier. Slightly faster up top. Otherwise, the comps are more or less even. Particularly as when you have the south spawn in a relatively fast medium, unless you think you're going to get hard counted by their mediums, I typically go through this F2 area, or at least I start heading towards there. You can always, abort if you see like 3 guys come around there. But that's generally the best thing to do. It's difficult if the enemy team knows what they're doing. It's difficult for the south spawn to play through the middle. But let's see what you do. If you don't go to this F2, you should go through here. I would typically try to get an early shot of damage on these guys that may cross over here, and then I would think about perhaps crossing over there myself. I wouldn't hang out here for too long. You can hang out here in the early game depending on what the enemy team is doing. These guys may or may not get lights for you. So if they do get lights for you, you can get set up about right here to get shots. Like if this bulldog goes up, you can go right here to get shots and shoot through these bushes, right? You don't need to move too far forward in order to do it. Oh. Like see how that guy got lit back there? Like if you're sitting like right here, you can actually shoot that guy, between, if you shoot to the left side of this rock. See how this guy's right here? You can actually shoot him if you're over here. And this is what you're looking for. Like when I say when your guy's light here, these guys that are moving across that back, you can get that free shot of damage by just setting up here. Now, what you want to be able to do is not get lit. And you weren't lit on the way through here. Although actually it looks like you're proxied. So maybe you were lit. Looks like you don't have Sixth Sense. Oh, you do have Sixth Sense. Okay. It was just you weren't proxied until just now. And again, so this, one of the important things is this circle, which represents how close somebody can proxy you. You want to keep that a little bit further away. So like if you were more closer to where this UDES is, like these guys can't light you, you can get those free shots of damage. And you'd much rather shoot this WZ-111 than shoot this Tiger 1 that's sitting in the back. And then now that you are lit, just basically move around until you don't get lit. And again, as we were saying, this is the advantage of the north. These guys aren't playing it entirely correctly because they're a little bit too far forward. They should be a little bit further back and they won't get shot at. But see how they have you proxy spotted. And that makes you vulnerable. If their artillery is anywhere over on this side, that makes you incredibly vulnerable in your position, especially as a PTA. And again, don't forget, you are lit there, because they will just keep proxying you, and that is the advantage of holding the north from the middle. See how your guy has this side over here? You do need to keep an eye on that. But this is not where you want to hang out. Like this is not the hangout area for you. Like there's nothing good for you here. This T-29 is actually shootable. This Tiger is behind the rock. A lot of what you can do is before you zoom in on the snipe, like as you're driving in here, right? Look and see where your line's going to be, and then you can go into the sniper mode, and then you'll know that you don't have a shot on that Tiger, but you do have a shot on this guy, right? Nope, now he's behind the rock. And don't forget, you are lit this entire time. Artie can shoot you. If these guys wanted to, they could shoot you. So again, that's sort of the difficulty of playing through this side, which is why you can come here in the early game, but you definitely don't want to hang out here because you will get punished. Lol. Sniping of the cupola. Okay, see how this guy right there now is dead? So that proxy spot is gone now. And now that frees you up quite a bit. And then see how this guy proxy spotted you now, though? So, gotta run away again. Oh, look at that armor. PTA armor OP. That was also a very nice roll for you. That Chi-Ri is back there, but you're not really worried about that. You're really most vulnerable in this middle area here. The problem is that it's going to be difficult for you to counter that guy where he's at. I wouldn't really worry about the Chi-Ri. You're sort of hanging out in this middle a little bit too much. You're benefiting from the fact that the artillery is not trying to shoot at you. But the problem is that you're not really getting super great shots on anything. Their T-29 is vulnerable, but... Do it. Do it. There we go. Make him pay. He's still not looking. There we go. And then, so, all things considered, since this guy shifted over there, you'd actually rather be up here, up this rock, because at least that will give you some artillery protection. Oh man, you sniped the cupola and then missed that shot. I think I hit the rock. You didn't need to shoot that high. See how he drove out behind that rock? You could have shot at the hull of his tank. Again, this sort of, you know, what I was saying earlier is understand where your line is, and as he backs out of there, you know, you don't need to take as tight of a shot as you did. So now is an interesting question. See how you basically, they own this side over here because you guys didn't defend it that well, but that's good. That's actually what you want. It's actually probably best to clear this off now so that you guys actually have some map control before they come up behind you. So all you have to do is just drive up there and go and kill that guy. Because otherwise he's going to make it difficult for these guys over here, because I don't think these guys really know what they're doing. Oh. And again, so you're like coming out here. I don't know what your exit strategy is. You're up against a tank with a clip. Like there's an IS here, so looks like he's probably going to shoot that first. But you'd rather sit behind use this rock to protect you from the T-54E1. The GW Panther has shown zero interest in shooting at you to this point, so you should be more cognizant of the T-54E1. Oh my! Use that butt! That butt armor. And again, you can still push this guy up here and take him out. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult for your team to do a whole lot of things. I'm not entirely sure what you think you're accomplishing right now. So one of the things that you don't want when you feel like you have an advantage on one side of the map. And let's look at what your advantage is. Like, so this is the line that sort of denotes half of the map. So on this half of the map, how many tanks do they have? Right? They have almost all of their tanks on this half of the map. On this half of the map, how many tanks do they have? 1. Right? So it's almost always better to crush the 1, and then you can at least control this half of the map. Not worry, these guys don't have to worry about getting shot in the butt, rather than do what you're doing. Because you're basically shrinking down your own map control. You're not creating any advantages for you. Let them go ahead and drive into the base if they want. Just go and deal with their guy over here. Again, like you're waiting. There's too much waiting, not enough doing here. You're a top tier tank. You still have full health. Go and make it happen. Just, again, this guy rolled off the top, so hopefully he'll get killed. But you can make it happen. See, this Chiri's on that side. You can get shots on him, right? See how this guy's coming around this side? You want to always pincer, right? You don't always want to be on the same side as everyone else. You always want to be coming from different angles, because that's what makes it difficult for your enemy. So you've wasted the past couple of minutes just basically doing nothing, and that's a pretty severe limitation. Just do it. Just do it, my man. Just do it. Just keep going. Just do it. No, just drive. Just do it. Just go and do it. Just drive forward. No, keep going. Keep going. You got this. You don't want to sit out here. You just want to drive. Because right now the STRV can shoot you. The RD can shoot you. Oh, don't run. Just go ahead and do it. Oh. Tier 7 tank versus Tier 9 tank. Just do it. Don't be afraid of it. Okay, and anyways, as I was saying, like for fighting that Chiri, if you had just come around on this side, then you could have put him in an unanswerable position where he has to get shot by you and he has to get shot by his teammates. You always want to do that. You'll see that time and time again, people like going to the same side as the rest of their team, but that is almost always not the right thing to do. And so now what you've done is you've given them an opportunity to basically all come to the same side. Just too much sitting around. Too much sitting around. Fantastic snapshot. Now you got to be careful because this guy can potentially come around the back. You're not really worried about the T-54 lightweight. Or you shouldn't be really super worried about T-54 lightweight. That was an excellent track shot. The Chibi is behind you, but I would not worry about him at this point. Just push him, just push him, just push him. Push him, push him, push him. There we go. Okay, and then just kind of hang out back here and wait. You got plenty of time, wait for your crew to get unstunned. And then what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to get either to this rock over here or ideally this rock over here. The STRV is in the back. The other T25/T to be on, you know, somewhere on this lower bowl. Do you have a dead driver? Okay. So see where this guy is at? So all you gotta do is drive straight to this rock right here. Just drive straight there. Don't stop. Just do it. Do it. Do it. Right? You know where the STRV is. You know where the artillery is likely to be. Just do it. What you do not want to do is stop. Don't stop. Drive forward. Forward. Forward, my man. Forward, my man. You are not afraid. You should not be afraid of bottom tier tanks. If you back up, Artie can shoot you. STRV can shoot you. Just drive straight to this rock and kill this guy. No. Alright, so anyways, so what are you going to do now? Drive straight to this rock. I'm not entirely sure what you think you're doing, but drive straight to this rock. The safest place on this map, the absolute safest place that you can be is at this rock. Given what you know of the enemy team. And then just peek over here to the left, see if anybody's there. Either there's someone there or there's not. If there's not anybody there, pick around to the right. Alright, can't light anything. That's fine. You're not going to be able to zoom there. Like, you don't have that kind of gun depression. Now go peek on the other side. There's either somebody there or there's not. Okay, and then so I presume that this guy's still over here. So what I would actually do is come down here now and then just drive straight up this one line. Like, see where your IS-3 is at? Like, you need to take point here. Like, the IS-3 can't be the guy that leads this. No, there's no reason for the IS-3 to do this. Like, you should just push this one line here. What you don't want to do is you don't want to drive off here. Right? So, one of two things happen, right? One of two things are entirely possible, and this is why you should sort of go through this, like particularly when you have a lot of times like this. So either this guy is still in this area, or he's not, right? That's a very profound statement. Either he's there, or he's not. And if he's not, most likely he moved back, not forward. He didn't move to this hill. He wasn't helping, you know, with the T-25. He wasn't doing anything like that, right? So either he's here or he's not. And then if he's not, he's likely over here. So if he's here, you don't want to push down here. And if he's not here, then you don't need to push around here anyways because he's not there. So if he's here, then pushing through here isn't bad because you still have all the housing covered. Which is why you go one line. Now what you don't want to do is just wait. Because then people are going to start doing stupid stuff. And it's more difficult to predict stupid stuff. And again, just come down to where your IS-3 is and literally just drive up this road. No, you're not really going to... No, well, I don't agree with this. Yeah, so you got lit. Most likely he's over there. He did shoot you. Most likely the artillery is over there. But again, this is why you just come on over here and just drive straight up this road, make it much easier for you. So, the good news is you've answered the question. He's either here or he's not. Now you know. And that was just a critical mistake. But yes, so anyways, all you really had to do was just drive over here and then just drive up this road, because then this guy has no chance of spotting you. And so let us continue this charade, which is either the artillery is here or he's not, right? So if he's here, then you can use this approach to find him. Now you're sort of light on the health, but you can find out by going around over on this side. Unfortunately, waiting is not the answer, so we're going to speed this game up. Hey, look, he was there. And then, no. So, again, you're backing up here. And it's understand what it is that you're afraid of. You're not afraid of the GW Panther, right? You're afraid of the STRV. There's no reason, you know the STRV is over there someplace. There's no reason for you to not just hang out right here. As you back up, you increase the number of places that he can be to shoot you. Okay, so now what do you do? What do you do? So now would be nice if the IS-3 came up through here like this. But again, you can't really depend on your teammates to do that. So what you can do is try to leave through this area by basically coming around over here, going to this house, and then getting out. Because you could theoretically push up underneath him, but unless your team is on the ball, they're not really going to be able to shoot that guy super effectively. I think going this way is really sketchy. Like, I don't think that this is the best plan. Like, I would be better, I mean, I would be more encouraged if you came up over on this side of the ramp and just peeked your turret over just to see if you got lit, rather than go on this side, because there's too many areas for you to get shot from this side. He is most likely still on the hill. Your artillery moving makes really no difference here. Other than it tells you, look, their artillery drove all the way up there and he didn't get shot. So that tells you that he's probably about right there. Maybe a little bit more over there. But again, you know where he's at, and that's sort of valuable information. So go back that way. IMO. Or not. Anyhow. So there were a number of issues that you had with this game. So you came to the middle, which again is fine. I don't necessarily have a problem with that, although I in this type of configuration, I would go through F2, or at least explore the opportunity to go through F2. You kind of hung out there a little bit too long when you were proxy spotted, and you want to avoid doing that. Again, understand where your firing lines are through here. You had opportunities to shoot guys like that WZ-111 when he was trying to cross, and things like that. Sort of prioritize your gameplay. And then in the mid game, you kind of wasted a lot of time not doing anything, and that was a pretty significant problem, especially when you can crush one side of the map. I would go ahead and crush one side of the map rather than basically what you did was drive around over here. And then when this I think it was like T-43 or something was pushing around this side, all you had to do was flank. All you had to do was flank, and you could have helped that guy out so much. But you guys all both went to the same side, and then you weren't really committed to actually killing his guy. And then again, when that T-25/2 is there, if you drive to this rock right here, the enemy team can't shoot you. It's just you in your tier 9, top tier, tier 9 tank against him in his bottom tier, tier 7 tank destroyer. Who wins that matchup? You should win that matchup, right? Because you've already negated his teammates. But that's always something that's important to keep in mind. Oh well. So anyhow, if we look at the... Here are the stats. Your team did all right. You shot pretty well, but again, there were a lot of opportunities that you had for damage. particularly in that mid game that you passed up, which wasn't so good. Get a little bit more practice in playing through that middle area and using those bushes and understanding when you're proxy lit and shouldn't be looking to get shots, and when you are not lit and when you should be looking to get shots. Otherwise, I mean, I feel like he played it okay overall. Particularly in that late game, in those late game situations, you need to get more practice in thinking about where the enemy is likely to be and not drive down the middle of those types of lanes. You would have been better off driving all the way on the left, as I suggested, or you even would have been better off driving all the way around on the right and just driving straight at that STRV. Just splitting the difference and allowing either side to spot and or shoot you, particularly from cover, that's a huge problem. But GG, nice try. Alrighty, and so next we'll look at Entropy's E75 game. Wait a minute, this isn't going to work. This is the wrong client. There we go, that should work. Alrighty, so top tier, no Artie, and a heavy. This is an awesome opportunity. So in heavy tanks, you do want to play through this 1-2 line on one of these lines. It's generally easier to play the 2. You got to see whether your guys light through the Abbey or not. If your guys understand what they're doing to play through the middle of the Abbey, you can play the 2 line pretty effectively. But you can start heading out here and then make that decision, particularly when there's no artillery. Otherwise, it should be a pretty decent matchup. The Type 4s can be a challenge, especially if they're derping, because they can do crew damage, and also they don't really have to aim. But derp is generally not the way to go on any tank, unless you're going to pen. Or your bottom tier, I suppose. And as we've noted many times, you always want to look and see what your team is doing 30 seconds into the game, 60 seconds into the game. You sent a bunch of your lower tiers, low/mid tiers this way, which is fine. It's not that big of a deal. These guys will generally die anyway, so you're not super concerned about that. You want to look and see what assets you have coming your way. You do have the Emil 2 and the 5120, right? Both of these autoloaders. And so if you front for these guys, then that will allow their, well, if they play it all right, well enough, that will allow them to get some opportunistic damage. You see that their T30 is over here. Again, you always want to use deductive logic. If the T30 is over here, that means that the T30 is not also over here. And that sounds stupid to say, but many people don't actually recognize that in these random battles. They believe that people have the ability to have some sort of duality. I'm not sure what your 5120 is doing. If the 5120 had waited just a little bit more instead of trading, really poorly like that, then you could have been up taking the shots, and then all he has to do is just peek out and look to get shots. So see how they've moved up to this area right here. That's actually good for them, except for the fact that there is no artillery. So that makes this area a little bit more relevant. When there's artillery, right, you don't want to sit back here. This is the no man land back here. But when there's no artillery, then this land back here actually becomes more open and usable, particularly when you have tanks where you can hold down. So you do want to start off on the low ground and come up, though. You don't want to start off on this high ground because you do want to protect your lower glaciers. You're not really going to get a good shot there. That is a good shot. You probably could have aimed that a little bit more, but it's all good. And again, you do want to start putting some pressure through here where you can, especially since your 5120 seems pretty intent on getting yourself killed. Sometimes you gotta keep your boys alive. You can shoot cupola there. You can't really shoot the rest of the turret. It's pretty rounded, which is sort of a problem. Although you went right through it. Is that APCR maybe? I don't know. Anyhow, you can theoretically. You do need to keep an eye on what goes on over there, which is why you don't want to be so far back. Like typically in these types of configurations, like see how this Emil is fine. Like he can actually wreck from down here because he can hold down. This Tiger 2 isn't in a really good position because in order for him to get shots, he gets shot pretty easily. You're the furthest back, which interestingly makes you the most vulnerable to getting shot from the guys on the one line. You'd actually rather be up for a number of reasons. One, because you are pretty much the strongest tank here. The T10 is in a decent position, but see how this T10 is here and this Lorraine is here? This Lorraine can get shots on the back where this Type 59 and this, what is this other guy? This E5, T26 E5 is. The T10 is also in that general area back there. He might be behind that next rock, but you do want to light those guys. Okay, so like see how this Lorraine here, he doesn't really have shots on these guys right here, but he can shoot these guys right there. So that's what you're looking to create for your team. Hey, look, there's a Rogue 1390. Again, I wouldn't focus too much on that guy per se, but this guy you can hammer here. You need to be careful because you basically turned your back on the enemy. But they didn't make you pay. Oh, one of them made you pay. I would shoot the Type 69. I wouldn't worry about the KR. The KR is really hasn't appeared to be a threat. He's not the one that's thinking about damaging. Oh, get that T69. So see how they're pressuring through here? You need to relieve some pressure, right? And relieving pressure doesn't mean leave the autoloader alive and the baddie dead, right? Anybody could have killed that guy. You had the best opportunity to at least get this guy down to one shot, if not kill him. We've got a lot of guys here, which is interesting. They do have the Type 4 here, so you do want to back off of here. So now, it's not like this Tiger 2 is going to go at warp speed. Now what you need to do is turn around and hammer these guys right here before the Type 4 gets to you. No, see, this is so much of this game is really understanding where the pressure is coming from, right? This Tiger 2 is backing off. He is not a threat. This Tiger 2 is not going to destroy your team. This Type 4 heavy, that's a pretty even duel for you, right? The Type 4 coming in frontally. But it's going to take at least 30 seconds for that Type 4 heavy to get up here. At least, right? Looking up here, this T10 is already one-shottable to you. Everything else there is weak compared to you. So just let these guys, even if these guys both decide, YOLO time, swag it, they're not going to be able to stop you. You're going to be able to crush this before they even get up here. This Tiger 2 might die, but this Tiger 2 has already shown the willingness to die for the cause. So a lot of times, and I say this a lot, like when you're in bad situations where you're getting attacked on multiple planes, you want to break out. Think of it like if you have the opportunity to, you want to break out to one side or the other, ideally whichever side is weaker. And in this particular case, especially since this Type 4 even stopped moving forward, what you're going to end up doing is Wasting a lot of time here, not killing things. Wasting a lot of time here while your guys over here take damage. Wasting a lot of time over here when you could be just punching people in the face here. And that's a huge, huge problem as a top tier heavy. Look, he's not trying. These guys are not trying. And you're looking to get a cupola shot. I mean, I hope you get it, but... Oh my... This is again, it's all about understanding where the pressure is coming from. Like these guys are not a threat to your team. You could crush these guys. See how far forward they are. They've done this thing that you see a lot in pubbies, which is a partial commit. They've come far enough that they can't retreat, but they haven't gone far enough that they can really cause problems for your guys. You want to be able to hammer those guys that are in that situation where they can't really retreat. Here we go. This is what we're talking about. Just drive up there and start punching kids in the face. You kind of have to go around your boy. I wouldn't actually worry about the Chrysler. If you can get a shot on the T10, I wouldn't. The Chrysler doesn't have a really super great gun. He's not going to be the threat to you nearly as much as a T10. You'll want to angle your armor a little bit more out this way against the T10 if you're trying to bait him, because you want to create a little bit more of an angle. See how he went through this side? So if you were angled out a little bit more, then, I mean, he could still potentially roll high enough to get through there, but you reduce the probability of him doing it. The only thing that you don't want to do is go so far out that, you know, you expose your drive wheel on this side. And then take your time and kill him. Or don't take your time and kill him. Either one is fine. Okay, now, let's reassess the situation. How far have these guys moved from when you last left them? The answer is, not at all. Go ahead and crush these guys, and then go back. They are driving forward, and someday they will get there. But, so, what you do not want to do is you do not want to turn around and fight these guys and allow these guys to start shooting you in the butt. You see this, and I complain about this all the time. And this is what I call, so when we play in organized games, this is what I call gap discipline. Like, you don't want to leave a gap. Everybody can't shift over to the same side and leave a huge gap in the back where people start getting shot in the ass. Clear out your side. You have time to do it. Or you hope that the Chrysler can do it on his own. Either is fine. And again, one of the things that you really want to do is force these guys to at least drive out into the open so they're not in an alley, which is sort of to the Type 4. Oh, could you have come around that corner anywhere? You can even use this guy's carcass as cover. I didn't actually look and see what gun the Type 4 had, but if he's got the 15 centimeter. Look, your boys are getting behind him. Now, okay, so what you don't want to do is say, hey, can you please shoot me in the lower glaciers? Like, this is the one thing that you don't want to do. Just go ahead and stay behind this guy here, and then just reverse side scrape off of here. You can shoot underneath this right here. Either that or you hug him. One of the two. That's fine. Let him do what he do. He does have the 14 centimeter, so, or 13 or whatever it is. Again, just give him, you don't want to give him the lower glaciers. You're going to reload before him. Goodish job. Okay, and then now you don't really need to go back per se. You do need to figure out how you're going to approach this. Now, typically the best thing to do in a heavy, particularly when you look and see what they have left, is to actually come around through this bottom here. Although now we need to see what happens with this Lorraine. Oh, Lorraine lost. Okay, you do need to go back now. But that's fine. Like, you're not super worried about that. No, you go ahead and do the, okay. So there's no reason, there's zero reason for a heavy tank to ever try to come up here to try to outspot a light tank. There's no use for it. You should really do is just drive down here, just drive up here, and then so Now you're at this range. Now if let's just pretend he tries to cap out or put some cap pressure on. Now you're at this range. Now you're at a range, right, of 100 meters where the 1390 can't hide. Right? You're not going to outspot a light tank. Understand the strengths of your tank. Your team is pushing on that other side, which it's a little sketchy. We don't know exactly where their Type 4 was. We know that he was on the 8 line at one point. It doesn't look like 1390 went to put cap pressure on, per se. So he might be on the low ground. The Type 59 you can outspot at this range. Unfortunately, the Type 59 is far too clever. You're not really worried about the 1390's gun. Don't give him too much side, though. Otherwise, he will shoot you. He will shoot you through the side. And again, so what are you going to have to do here? You're going to have to drive off to the lower ground, which is what you probably should have done just right from the start. And then you wouldn't have been spotted coming in, and then you would have had the element of surprise. I actually wouldn't worry about the Type 59. The Type 59 is not really that much of a threat. You need to figure out where that 1390 is. The 1390 can leave. Now the problem is, so see how these guys are coming through here? That's not actually as much of a threat to you as you might think. You can play through this back ditch if you want to clear out this side. You don't want to drive across south over here towards these guys, because then that opens you up to flank shots. You don't want to sit where you're at, because that's going to open you up to them being able to get around to this side to get shots on you once you get lit. So you never really want to depend on the dumbness of your opponent. You always want to move to where you are going to have an opportunity. So these guys may or may not be coming through this side. So you can take a peek. Here is fine. You can drive all the way up here if you want. But what you shouldn't do is drive to the point where. Oh, that was not a very wise choice to reload ammo before that. Again, you know, the tanks that you were going to come up against right there were probably not going to have enough armor that was going to be relevant. The JP2 is going to be somewhere in that same area. You're lucky that their guy was not quite so bright. Okay, so now is an interesting proposition. So now is when you should start exploring the idea of coming across over here, right? We don't know exactly where the Type 4 is yet. Let's see if we can figure out where he's at. But this area is going to be vulnerable for you unless you come in through here. So you can come up here and peek, and if he's not here, I would actually just go towards the JP2. I wouldn't go forward towards the JP2. I would come back down through here towards the JP2. And again, like, you're sort of surfing here, and I sort of get the premise. Like, if you're a light tank, that's one thing. The problem is that in a heavy tank, so typically when you're getting intel, you can surf ridges like this in any tank, a medium tank, any fast tank for the most part. But when you're in a heavy tank, the problem is that you don't quite have the responsiveness to do this super effectively, because you have to remember that Sixth Sense doesn't actually appear on your screen until roughly 3 seconds after you've actually been spotted. And so pretty much when you're playing on a light tank or a fast tank, let's just say, and you surf this ridge in order to get intel, the instant that it goes off, you need to break out. The problem is then E75, the instant that it goes off, you're going to break out. And then now you're off. Right? There's just too much time there. So you're doing the same thing that our PTA friend Cinciosky did in the last game, which is you kind of know where the enemy is, and you're gonna drive right in between them. That's never really what you want to do. You always want to take edges, particularly when you have a guy over here to hold one edge. Just go ahead and come around over here towards this guy and see if you can figure out where he's at. You never really want to try to split the middle on tanks because that's just a good way to have one or both of them shoot you in the sides at the same time. You basically drive yourself into a flank. Now this guy might be hanging out in the Abbey, which is, again, you don't want to sort of idle too much in a single area, particularly when the opponent knows where you are, because it just makes it easier for them to maneuver themselves. And whenever the enemy team is dark, right, you don't know what they're doing, right? A lot of puppies will do nothing, which is why puppies are much easier to play against in the late game. But again, you're coming to this area where if this guy's over here and this JP2 is over here, you're just splitting the difference, where you're like, all right, I will make it equally easy for both of you to shoot me. So my suggestion is to push one side or the other, right? So let's say you felt like the Type 4 was still over here someplace. In order to do that, what you would do is you would push into this back hill over here and then come up through here, right? Now let's say you thought the JP2 was still over here. What you would do is you would come around through this line over here and then come up through here, right? If for some reason they both came to the same place, then you would still be able to find that out. That was a nice 360 that you did. Unfortunately, I don't think there's much in the way of style points. There is a ditch that you can go through back here, so it will protect you some depending on what their elevation is like. Well, they were smart enough to maneuver, and your boy was not able to figure it out. You are unfortunately not going to be able to save him. The good news is he did kill the JP2. So it's just you versus the Type 4. So at this point you haven't been lit. The good news is the Type 4 missed his shot in the meal, or he bounced his shot in the meal too. Oh, he's gonna dive down on him. So you actually want to dive down here too. Just go ahead and dive down, my man. Just go ahead and dive down. There's still a chance. There's still a chance. Oh, yeah, I don't know. You need to take that shot. Again, so this is just simple mathematics at this point, right? There's nothing that this guy can do short of straight ammo racking you to kill you with more than to kill you in one shot, basically. Right? Short of him ammo racking you, all you have to do is get 2 shots of damage to him. So you can be like that STI on Pilsen earlier tonight. You can literally drive with your ass pointed at this guy. Say, no armor, I don't care, doesn't matter. Because as long as you do damage, there's nothing that he can do, right? Nothing that he can do. And this is, when we talk about things like understand what your advantages are in any given situation, like this is what we're talking about. He literally just fired to kill your Emil 2. You're coming down this mountain here. All you got to do is get 2 shots of damage on him, and GG. There's nothing that he can do. So in that particular scenario, if you can just get on the side of him, then it's GG, right? You don't need to worry about sniping. You don't need to worry about pinning him in the front. All you gotta do is shoot through the side. You're more maneuverable than he is. You still got the reload. Even if he pens you, even if he shoots HE and pens you and high rolls, unless he ammo racks you, he cannot kill you, right? This is a mathematical improbability for you to lose this matchup if you play it right, right? And that is to say that all you gotta do is roll down here, drive up next to him, auto aim, and left click, right? And then the game is over. Let's see how you decide to play it. Oh, you're going with the aim method. Uh-oh. Oh, you got the shoulder shot. That's what we're talking about. You cut yourself off on your own guy. Oh, man. Oh, man. It's getting close. All right. Well, I mean, you made it interesting. I guess that's good. But again, you know, and this is not just for the late game, but like in the early game, mid game, like you'll run into situations like that where you're just like, where you should understand when the opponent has 0 chance to beat you if you play it right. right? Where it doesn't matter how he shoots you or what he does. So if you, as long as you deal damage on your shots, there's nothing that he can do. And so that's why I was saying that you could, theoretically speaking, drive backwards at him. Like your armor angling, your aiming, none of that matters. Your goal is get to his side. Once you're at his side, GG. There's nothing that he can do. There's literally nothing that he can do. You made it a little more interesting. The good news is you did pen with both of your shots. That second shot I think was a little sketchy. The first shot I thought was solid, but hey, them's the breaks. Anyways, I think I went over pretty much everything that I wanted to in the early game as far as you coming over here and assessing the situation. And one thing that I just sort of want to go back to and touch on again is this idea of if you're being attacked from multiple flanks, the best thing that you can possibly do is to break out on one side. You know, figure out which side is the weakest or whichever side is going to pincer the slowest, right? Or pincer the fastest, I guess, in this particular case, and push and clear that side. You know, all things being equal, those guys on that one line, those guys weren't really the threat. You could have just been bullying kids on that 2 line, while the Type 4 and the Tiger 2 were just kind of hanging out. And so you got to be able to see situations like that. There are a couple of situations where you expose too much of your lower glaciers, particularly in the E75. You want to avoid doing that unless you have to. You know, just particularly when you have carcasses to hide behind. A lot of these, even in these really tall tanks like the Type 4, if let's say this is the square of your tank here. Can we see this on the? Yeah, okay, we can. Like if this is the front of your tank and you're pushed up against him right here, you can shoot through this area underneath his gun, right, and basically be almost entirely protected, like you're shooting out of a bunker. And so that was, you know, that your dead was an Oni or whatever it was. I forget what it was. Oho. Your dead Oho that was over here, you could have used his carcass like that, where you could have fired at their Type 4 coming in with, and there would have pretty much basically been nothing that he was able to do about it. You instead exposed your lower glaciers pretty significantly. He was not able to take advantage of that, and he did a 0 damage track to you, which, hey, fantastic, take it. But again, like those are types of mistakes that you're looking to minimize, that you're not looking to give opportunities like that to people. And it's the same thing, like when you were approaching where that T10 was at, like you knew that he was aimed in on that area, so you want to make that angle as difficult as possible for him to pen through. And like I said, like he can still pen through that with a decent enough roll, but you want to make it difficult for him. You don't want to make it an easy roll for him to pen through your lower glaciers as you approach that T10. All right, so if we look at the stats, Steph, your team did not do super awesome, but they did okay. I felt like you could have led more on the, been more of a presence on the west, and that might have preserved some health for your other guys, but them's the breaks. They had a lot of tanks there. They had more weight than you did, but they were sort of dispersed in a way that, you know, it doesn't matter if the enemy team has twice as many tanks as you on one side or twice as much weight as you on one side. If they're split half and half and you only have to deal with one half of the tanks at a time, then you're pretty much evenly matched with that half, and then you go and deal with the other half. And that's sort of the problem with these slow flankers. They typically don't get to the place they need to get in time, as long as you're reasonably aggressive in dealing with the with one side. But you shot well, so that is excellent to see. GG, well played. I am very happy that you won.